You are now tuned into Sunday Coffee Chat, hosted by Shay and Mia Rutherford. This podcast is brought to you by the Beauty Institute and the Lash Artists and PMU Artists Club, where we discuss all things Lash and PMU. Join us live on Clubhouse, Sundays at 11 a.m. Eastern Time, 8 a.m. Pacific. Thanks for listening. Grab your coffee and stay tuned.
While I'm waiting, I'm going to start following
There
y'all.
she is.
Okay.
Hi, Teryn.
Hello.
Good morning, early bird.
Hi, Teryn.
Yeah, I mean, very early.
I know. I was telling Shay, you realize it's 8 o'clock in Vegas on Teryn's time.
I told Shay, are you kidding me? You're forgetting me. 8 o'clock on Sunday?
I can
It's
tell you
gonna
right
feel
now,
so
Teryn's
good.
in bed with her cup of coffee and all her fur babies around her.
Mary, you know me so well. I am the fur babies. I'm afraid they'd bark. So when I'm in bed, I'm in my pajamas, my hair's a wreck, and I'm on my first cup of coffee. But I'm here.
Yeah, same here.
No, that's awesome, and I'm sorry because it's like 11 where I am, so it's not that early for me. But thank you guys so much. But
Yeah.
honestly, like Mia is helping me out, and she's in Cali, and we just always do it at this time because you just get it out of the way on Sunday, and then you just have the rest of the day to enjoy. So it feels good later. It feels like crap now.
Yeah. Right. I don't.
Yeah.
Well, I'll let you know, Shay, if it feels good later or not. I mean, we'll see about that.
Oh, it will. So this is what we have going on. This is our setup. I have Mia here. She's recording, and then we're gonna edit it and post it on YouTube and like whatever. We'll show it to you guys before we have the final stuff. But we're gonna make like mini content, educational content, because these rooms are so valuable, and it's just kind of like sad if we don't record some of the gems that are shared on the Clubhouse rooms. And then I have Kathleen in the audience. She's really great at writing, and we turn all the value that's shared in the room into a newsletter. So for everybody that missed the early room, because they're sleeping, because that's the normal thing to do, we share the newsletters and give everybody the value that was shared. But we do share that with you, Mary and Teryn, like before anything is shared.
Thank you.
So that, yeah, no problem. So that part feels good for sure. So I know I made this room because I am so happy that somebody like Teryn made a machine course, like a full machine course, because switching from manual to machine can be intimidating. It's a lot of stuff. You're not just buying one tool, you're buying the needle, you're buying the grip, you're buying the machine, you're buying the cord, you're buying the power supply. So for somebody that was doing microblading for years and we were just buying the ink and the blade or the pen holder and the different blade variations, it was a little complicated, but much easier than machine. So Teryn, I know that you just launched this machine course. So can you tell us a little bit about the course and like what you tried to do with all the content that's packed in there?
Yeah. So I've been teaching a hands-on machine. I've used machines 21 years and lots of different machines. I love machines, so I like different machines. So I've been teaching a hands-on machine course for probably 12 years, and they always sell out. They're really fun. They're really great, and so yeah, I've been thinking about putting it online, and I was working on it, slowly plugging away at it when Shay reached out to me. And so that kind of lit a fire under my butt to like focus on it and get it done. But it's really in depth. It just takes you through everything. And there's over 9 hours of video and lots of written content, a handout. I highlight like 7 different machines, and I really think it's important. Like, look, I sell machines. And so as a distributor, I'm really careful, you really try to match the machine to the individual needs and wants of the person, the artist, because these machines are not returnable, right? Like Microbow, FK irons, these companies don't take machines back just because you don't like them. So distributors can't refund them or take them back. So it's a big responsibility as a distributor. So over the years, I really kind of learned. So I highlight like maybe some of the attributes that an artist would not really care for about each machine, like vibration level, maybe noise, maybe size, maybe weight, maybe it's not the best for hair strokes, but it's awesome for shading. And then I highlighted the attributes that might be really appealing to someone. Went over power boxes, cords, wireless, needles, how to insert needles, how to grip the machine. And I even included the movements, like 6 core movements we make as PMU artists, because, what's the sense of teaching your machines if I don't teach you the movements and how to move with it? So yeah, I think it came out really, really great. Definitely got the stamp of approval from Shay, and I'm already getting lots of feedback on it from people that have signed up. So it's good. I'm really proud of it, and I think it's going to be super, super. We priced it fair, and I think it's going to be super helpful to a lot of people. So, and helping them, making the right decision.
No, absolutely. And I just want to clarify, she's talking about Shay Daniels. She's working with Shay Daniels, who has an online academy, to make this course. I just want to clarify it's not me. But
Okay.
again, what's it called? So this is actually what I did because I think the course is really, really crucial. So I actually invited everybody that is in my course. Like I sent out emails and I said, you need to come see this because we need something like this in the industry. And so, you know, I really appreciate what you guys did, and I'm glad that Shay motivated you to, um, get it done and get it out there because we do need something like that. Machines are intense. So I have a question here that I read the description on your course and I saw how versatile it is and how packed it is. And one thing that I wanted to ask, since we have Mary here, is what do you guys think about hand tools and the ink implantations? Now, I know this is about a machine class, but I think a lot of people that are signing up or a lot of people that might be curious are using hand tools. So I did want to address like the difference between the way ink is implanted with the hand tool versus different machines and different ways that ink could be implanted in the skin using different machines. So what is like the key thing that you feel about hand tools versus machines? So I'll ask Teryn first, and then we'll go to Mary, and then I do want to ask Teryn as well. Do you do any hand tool work, and if so, which one?
I don't do any hand tool work. I didn't keep up with it. I did. I did do some microblading. No, that's not true. I mean, in removal, I use the soft tap hand tool a lot. So I do a lot of uh, shading, tapping and shading with the soft tap tool. Probably the second year of my career, I did nothing but hand tool. I got off the machine and did nothing but a hand tool, and then went back to machines my third year in PMU. And then when microblading hit, I was super curious. So I definitely did some microblading. So I'm familiar with it and I've done some of it, but it's not my forte. Machines are definitely my forte and my great love. And in the course, I do refer, I was very well aware those taking my course were either going to be hand tool users converting over to machine, that's what I get in my class, my hands-on class all these years. Or they're going to be people that are, brand new to PMU and really haven't maybe have been on a machine a little bit, but either didn't have great training on them or feel a little lost and just wanted a course to better learn and understand machines. So I do go over that. I think, the biggest difference is the machines are much more versatile than a hand tool. With a hand tool, you're a little bit restricted on the movements. Like, you can't do shoveling. You can do pointillism, linear line work, to lay down your strokes. But you don't do circles and things like that. So I think with the machine, there's a lot more movements you can make. It's a lot more versatile, and I think it's more expensive. I point that out. Coming from the hand tool to a machine, like you said earlier, Shay, when you're a microblader or a hand tool user, you buy your hand tool and, that's kind of like, yeah, but with machine, the machine's much more expensive than the hand tool. Then you got to buy a power box or a battery pack. You got cords, you got foot pedals, you got, there's a lot more that goes into a machine. There's many more layers to a machine. So, I talk about that, in the course, and yeah, so
Perfectly. And then Mary, I also know that you don't do any microblading, but I want to know I know you train a lot, and I want to know, what are your thoughts on machine strokes? Because I know you specialize in nano, and then versus like the microblading strokes as far as ink implantation.
Well, you guys, when microblading got real popular, I guess about 7 years ago, 6 years ago, I did fly to Toronto to train with Tina Davies. And, I wanted to see what the hype was about. Like Teryn, I wanted to know what it was about. And so when I flew out there, she had a model all ready for me to go. And I may have told this story in another clubhouse, so it might be redundant, but I literally made one cut on the skin, you guys, and I handed the tool back to Tina after I saw how much blood I produced. I'm like, God, this is definitely not for me. After she told me, yeah, this is a good thing, this is normal. I'm coming from a machine where my clients, if at all, need a pinpoint. They don't bleed at all. So I just felt like, okay, I came, I saw, I tried it, I didn't like it. I think I microbladed one person when I got back just to do my own little testing and stuff. And I just, in all good conscience, after, doing machine for so many years, I just, it wasn't like Teryn said, it wasn't my forte. I didn't feel like I should start something. If it's not broke, why fix it? I just wanted to see what it was all about. So nope, I don't microblade. I didn't get a certificate. I told her to keep it. I handed the tool back to her. I just felt like it was a little too much trauma for my liking into the skin. So I've been a machine girl for, August I'll be doing the 17 years in August. And it's like, but I'm so used to it. I'm so acclimated to the device in my hand that going from, I would be there all day microblading. I don't know what I'm doing when it comes to the blade. So yeah, no, just not for me.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I'll share my thoughts on that too. I entered the industry in 2015, 14, around that time, and I went to take a microblading class, and I was really good at eyebrows, so I did microblading for so many years. And the second I started learning how to body tattoo, because I did body tattooing before nanobrows, I was like, this is how ink should be implanted in the skin because there's no blood, there's no scar tissue, it holds, and that's why tattoos are permanent because they're implanted in not a cutting way. You don't want to cut. It's going in and out really, really fast per second, and it's giving you that implant without trauma or bleeding or scarring. And so you get that stroke to stay for much, much longer. And I said, this is the future. Every microblading artist needs to know how to do this. I mean, microblading is great, but this is the revolution of microblading. And I think microblading got popular because it was much easier to teach, and it attracted a lot of people into the industry. So I am glad that it went super popular. But if I was in your shoes, Mary, I wouldn't go back. That's like using, I don't know, like a screwdriver. And then no, that's like you're like using a drill,
Going
like
from a Bentley to a Pinto.
yeah, kind of like that. Like you have a drill and you're making all your furniture with a drill, and then somebody hands you a screwdriver and says this is the way to do it, and you're like, no, I don't think I'm going to do that. And you just went back to using, your machine. So I think I would have done the same thing, but I didn't know any better. And so for all the artists in the audience that's just scared to move on to machines and scared for all the supplies, and there's so many needles and variations, and then for every needle you have like variations of the same size, take the course by Teryn and get yourself introduced to all the options. And once you're familiar, it's so easy and it's so nice. And then Mary, in the other rooms you were talking about, how long does it take you to do one brow? I think you said it was like 15 minutes or something like that.
Oh no, 45 minutes from beginning to end.
But for both brows, right?
For both brows, paperwork, everything.
Yeah, I mean, with microblading, because of the bleeding and everything, it takes so much longer because you're wiping and it gets red. With the machine, it's so much faster, and I like the results. So I just wanted to touch on that topic in the very beginning for all the artists in the audience that are curious. And now I want to move on to the next thing. I wrote down, let's see. So, Teryn, I do want to ask, so I know artists when they first buy their first machine, they're looking for a machine that does everything. They want something that does lips and eyeliner and brows and shading and this and that. Does this machine exist, or should the artist learn one thing, perfect it with the machine that's meant for it, and then move on to the next thing? And like, how many machines do you feel like you need? Because I know you do eyeliner and you do everything. So, is there that perfect machine, or should we have a variety?
I've always had a variety just because that's me. I have lots of different belt buckles, lots of different shoes. It's just me. I love machines, Shay. Um, but no, there's lots of versatile machines, and there always has been. Not in the PMU devices per se, okay? Because there's PMU devices like these digitals that were selling for $5,000 and $6,000. The needles were $20. Okay, those are PMU devices. Those were not versatile at all. And they were really expensive. The needle configurations were limited, but I never got into those kind of devices from day one because I'm a body tattoo artist too. All 21 years I've been doing body tattooing. So I always used coils, and then about 10 years ago started getting into the rotaries, right? The Bishop V6. The Bishop was the first one to put a rotary machine out in the market back in 2008. I was on it. And so the rotaries now, like the Zion S, the Flux, the Rook, the Valhalla, the Valkyr, I mean, these are versatile machines that are they're not restricted. I mean, they do everything really, really well. They all work with all universal needles that are like around $2 a needle, and they're all got lots of power. A lot of them are actually used in body tattooing. Like they cross right over between PMU, what we do on the face, and body tattooing, like the Bishop Phantom. I mean, that is our highest selling machine. I can't keep it in stock, and it came from body tattooing. Franco Viscavi, he engineered that machine for body tattooers that do really long black and gray, like realism, like portraits. He wanted that machine to have feel like you were painting with your hand. So lots of PMU artists love that machine. I love that machine. So lots of machines are really super versatile. But with that said, I do find like each machine has its like let's say like the Bell R. I don't think that is a super versatile machine. I think that machine was engineered to do hair strokes like nobody's business. It does shading, but it's way better at hair strokes. The Rook, let's talk about the Rook. Super versatile, really popular machine, great price, people love it. All around great machine, but some hair stroke artists feel it has a little bit too much vibration for them. So someone like that might have the Rook for shading, and then they might get the Bellar for hair strokes. But if you look at like Rashawn or Amber, vibration doesn't bother them, not one iota. So they're using the Valhalla for both hair strokes and all their shading. So there are some people that are a little sensitive to vibration when it comes to hair strokes, and there's other artists that are not sensitive to vibration at all, at all. So, and that's what I try to provoke in this machine class. Like I'm asking a lot of questions and pointing out a lot of things in this machine course to get the artists to think. Do they have carpal tunnel or hand issues? Are they sensitive to vibration? Are they going to be sensitive to weight? You know, things like that. So no, I think an artist starting out, they could get something like the Rook, which is like $450, and do eyeliner, eyebrows, hair stroke, do everything really, really well with it. And then once they get used to that machine, and they've done all the procedures with it, then they might want to get, a second machine that something like the Bellar that has a little bit less vibration. That's really good for hair strokes if they're doing a lot of hair strokes.
That was such an in-depth, perfect, like amazing answer that I think everybody in the audience really benefited from that because I get questions all the time. What should I buy? What should I buy?
Yeah,
And a lot of people think the $6,000 machine might be better than the
no,
$400 Rook,
it's
and
not.
it's
It's
not.
It's so not. And because it's super restrictive, there's not a lot of power, and the needles that come with it are are not as high a quality. To be quite honest with you, when you
Yeah.
look at needles like, because I spent years making my own needles. For 5 years, everything I did in PMU and body tattooing was needles I made myself. So I have a really high standard when it comes to needles. So if you're eye looping some of these digital machine needles, and you compare them to needles like Da Vinci and all the Tat Soul and all these needles that come from body tattooing, which are perfectly suitable and fantastic for all our PMU work. The difference in quality is like night and day, and that's really, Shay, I think, because in body tattooing, needles are a big thing. Machines are a big thing. Artists take pride in their needles. They're taught to eye loop needles. A lot of us, 20 years, were taught to make our own needles and did for a long time. And that's why I started teaching machines and needles in PMU, because in PMU, all we were fed was buy the $6,000 machine, buy these $20 needles. We weren't taught to eye loop. No one was talking to us girls in PMU about those things. And I felt my industry was being taken advantage of, to be quite honest with you. And it kind of pissed me off. And so I started getting kind of loud about it, many, many, many years ago, which got me into trouble with some of these PMU companies. But come on, a $6,000 machine, $20 needles? Are you kidding me? I just felt bad for women that were, you know, like that got into that and were struggling. So, but now look at us now, right? Now we're the industry has really evolved. We're really smart now. We've become really empowered, and the rotaries now are taking over. You see that these PMU devices, they're on their way out. These proprietary machines are on their way out. The industry's really getting into the universal rotaries now, the standard university cartridge needles and all that stuff. So I've never been more stoked, excited, or happy for the PMU industry than I am right now, because it's just exciting right now to see what's happening for my peeps.
Yeah,
you
no,
know,
absolutely. And I do want to also say for the tattooing industry, the machines like have gone from an insane amount of complication and vibration, and you couldn't do fine line tattoos. So fine line tattoos have such a bad reputation because the machines 10 years ago were so different than the machines now. But I think as the entire industry with the body art, with the PMU, like the art of tattooing itself, no matter what you're doing, just completely evolved because the technology evolved. And I think it gave everybody opportunity to do what they really want. Like if you're an artist and you can express yourself on paper and you're an amazing artist on paper, but then to take it to skin is a completely different thing because you need engineering to take that to skin. And it's like now that we're empowered with the right tools to draw the way we draw on paper on skin, I mean, that really changed the game for every single person. And I'm so glad that those machines that are $6,000 are on their way out because I think it was like a monopoly. And it was kind of like really rude to do that to women that are just trying to make a living. And these women are just coming to the industry because whatever reason, most of the time it's switching jobs or being passionate, and you're kind of in a bad, I mean, you're not in a bad place, but you're in a place of wanting to move forward when you enter this permanent makeup industry. And to say, the machine is 6,000 and the course is 4,000,
Yeah.
and to, and then they don't even end up using the machine or learning anything in the course, and then they just get suckered. And it's like, that's not what the permanent industry is about. It's about people like you, Taryn, people like Mary and Mia and I, like empowering women. And to be here in 2021 is really, really exciting. Like, I completely agree with you, and I'm so glad that we're here together right now. Mary, I do want to pass the mic to you and get your thoughts on different machines and how many you have. And I know your favorite is the Bolar, based on what you told me, but I might be wrong. But I'd love to hear your thoughts on.
So I think I have a little graveyard of machines as well. Mind you, I've been doing this 17 years. So I started out with your basic KP96. I've had the Giant Sun. I evolved to more elaborate machine. I went to the Nouveau Contour. I have all of their device. I have all of their styles and designs. And I think the one thing that sold me on their devices was the quality of the handpiece. I just felt like it was just really soft and it hummed. So I used that for 14 years. Did not like about it was the cost. And when I was a VIP trainer for that, kept saying, listen, I know, like you were saying earlier, I can't, in good conscience charge this much for a class and then have them pay 3,000 to 5,000 for a machine and the needles and everything else you need to go with it. So I just felt like when to try costly, but they did lower their prices recently to a really affordable. I believe it's down to $9.99. Right, Teryn? Is it $9.99? I think that's what the price is right now. So it went down $300 or $400. I have 8 Balars. I absolutely love that machine. I love the needles for my style of work. When you're doing hair strokes or fine lines, I just feel like you can't really have much vibration, if any at all. I just can't explain how you see my work. You've seen my healed results. You've seen my students' healed results. It just implants like butter, and the cartridges, they hold so much pigment. You don't have to dip after every single stroke, which to me is probably why I get done in 45 minutes. I'm knocking out 5, 6, 7 strokes in one pass before I dip again. So yeah, no, and I have the Aura, the Lumi, have I have Na's machine, which is great for powder brows too. Rook, my students have used the Rook. I mean, I really feel for the most part, it's the operator and the skill set of technicians. I could do a beautiful brow with a $20 machine from China. I did that for many years back in the day. So, but as a business owner and having my own studio, I want the best of the best in my office. So I'd rather have more of the Mercedes and Bentley machines as opposed to the Pintos, if that makes sense.
No, that makes total sense. Absolutely. Okay, so the next thing I want to talk about is different stroke length for machines. So I know there's like a 3.5, which does everything. I also know there's like I didn't even know, but there's a 4. I didn't know that. And then I know in PMU we're mainly using like a 2.0 stroke length machine. So I do want to get your thoughts, Taryn, on different like. And then two, I think in your class there's a lesson called "What is the give of a machine?" And I personally I've never heard the word give. So if you want to share that, that would be cool. And yeah, let's talk about stroke length, and then we'll talk about the give.
Yeah. So stroke length on rotaries actually goes up to 4.5. Um, and that's a really long stroke. And on the coil, Shay, the stroke length is adjusted by the artist, and it goes all the way from like 1.5 to 6 on a coil. So
Wow.
stroke can can be really, really long. So and in PMU, probably the most popular is 2.5 to 3.5. That is your versatile stroke setting. That's great for everything. You start getting below a 2.5, like a 2, like a 1.8 or a 2, then that's being really super technical, and that's going to hit the skin super soft. So like in body tattooing, for portrait work, black and gray, when you have to go over it and over it and over it like 10 times to layer on texture and whatnot. I mean, most artists are going to go with a shorter stroke setting, because a shorter stroke setting means that needle's hitting the skin much softer. With a long stroke setting, a lot of body tattoo artists really love a 4.5 for outlining work, tribal work when that was really popular. And a long stroke setting, that needle is pulling back, much further distance from the skin. So it's hitting the skin with much more force. So in PMU on the face, we don't want all that force, right? The face is really different than the body. Like body skin can kind of take that force. There's a need for, that, the longer stroke settings in body tattooing. But in PMU, there's really not a need. I mean, the only time I could think maybe, and I do have a colleague that likes a four stroke setting in some of her work, is if you're using like a big mag, and you need a little bit more force for that big mag, like an 18 mag, to penetrate the skin. Or if you're going through scar tissue and you need that needle to hit the skin with a little bit more force, right, to get through scar tissue because it's pushing a big needle, that would make sense, but in most of our work, especially like eyeliners, lips, just a typical powder brow, you would never need that long of a stroke setting. You're going to cause too much trauma. So my favorite stroke setting in the whole wide world is like probably like a 2.5, but I go anywhere from a 2.5 to a 3.5. So in my course, I tell people, look, don't get too hung up on the stroke settings. Just stay between like a 2 and like a 3.5, and that's pretty versatile for everything. If you're doing strokes, that's your bread and butter, then you can get to like a 1.8 or a 2 stroke setting. But if you're versatile, doing lots of different types of work, 2.5, 3, 3.5, and that's going to be fantastic for everything. So I go really in depth in stroke. I think in a way that you can really, like the young artist or someone that doesn't really understand strokes, they're going to leave this course and they're going to really understand what stroke setting is. What give is, lots of machine has like a built-in give. Some machines, it's just like a built-in give. Like, so like the Rook has like a built-in give. So when you run it high enough on your power box, the give kicks in. And then there's a direct drive machine, something like the Spectre Direct 2. That's a direct drive. That machine has no give. And then you have like the Zion S, which has give, but the artist sets it itself, right? There's a soft, a medium, and a hard give on the Zion that the artists can set themselves. So what give is, so like a soft give is like it's a mechanism inside the machine that kicks in, that when those needles hits the skin on a soft give, the needles hit with more flexibility. On a harder give, when those needles hit the skin, they hit the skin with more firmness. So that's what give is really in a nutshell. And I do a lot of different analogies and act out. I actually do some acting on my machine course to kind of really make you understand what stroke setting is and how it affects us and the client and the work. And I do a little acting on the give, so you can really like Shay made fun of me a little bit about my acting in a good way. But yeah, so, and those are things that I think everybody using machines should have relatively a pretty good understanding of. You don't need to be an expert on it, but just an understanding of what it is.
I completely agree. It would be really hard to enter skin with, like let's say you're doing lips with a 4 setting and then they start to swell and you don't know why. Like that would be
Yeah.
crazy,
Or can
you
you imagine
know?
doing a single needle and you're using like a 4-stroke setting, because that single needle takes hardly no force to enter skin. So you
Yeah.
wouldn't need a machine driving that needle with a lot of force. But if you're using big needle groupings like they do in body tattooing, look, I used to make 28 mags all the time and do all my black tribal work with 28 mags. A 28 mag, that has a big spread on it. So there's a lot more skin resistance. So it's going to take more force, for that needle to penetrate the skin, especially if you're working in like scar tissue or tougher skin. So it is important to understand first the canvas we're working on, the skin type, and just how much force. You don't want to, work with less force than you need, and you certainly don't want to work with more force than you need.
No, exactly. And then too, I would imagine that the 28 mag is super heavy, so you need enough push for it to actually get out.
Yeah. You need enough push. So on like a 28 mag, I mean, you're running at 9-10 volts, which we would never run that high in PMU. And I would, I had about 6 coils machines, and back in the day, and you'd have your stroke setting set at like at least a 4.5, because that needle has to hit with some force in order to penetrate the depth we need it to penetrate at. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, it makes complete sense, and that's why your course is great because a beginner coming from a microblade, they're not going to be thinking of force and give and stroke. They don't know any of that. And I think it's crucial to take an in-depth course because no matter how many, let's say, you're taking a nano course or a shading course or whatever course you're taking, if you don't have the basics of how a machine is assembled and how it works, you might not have all the leverage you need to produce the best work you can. So, Mary, I do want to ask you, I know you do fine, fine, beautiful stuff. And what's your favorite stroke setting, and does that affect your work? What are your thoughts?
Well, you know what? I'm sitting here listening. Who needs me in this room? Teryn's got all the answers when it comes to needles and machines because that's what she does. I honestly have my machine ever to a soft hit, hard hit, never. So I wouldn't even know how to probably do it. I just, work with my needle out far. I like a long taper, and I'm just super soft with my pressure. But I honestly have never adjusted a needle in my 17 years, and I'm almost embarrassed. But I guess if it works for me, right?
Well, but you've been picking the right machines. You were on that Nouveau, which,
Yeah.
we don't know the stroke setting of the Nouveau or PMU devices, because that was the other thing about the PMU devices that used to upset me, is they didn't disclose the stroke settings. Like PMU devices and companies didn't tell the industry or artists buying them, what is the stroke setting of this machine. They didn't even tell anybody the diameters of their needles. They didn't give those specs and that technical information. They didn't disclose it, and I could never really wrap my brain around why. But I've taken apart the Nouveau. Actually, we did really pretty recently with the owner of the Rook, trying to figure out like the stroke setting, and it has a short stroke setting. So, you happen to have picked a machine, Mary, that does have a short stroke setting. It did have a soft hit. Now you're on the Bellar, that's a 1.8. So
Yeah.
they had to like adjust because you just happened to pick machines that were kind of geared towards the hair stroke, right? Because I
Yeah.
think the bow was geared towards the hair stroke, but it was not really a great shading machine.
Oh,
Uh,
the Nuvo was not good for liner or lips when I was doing those back in the day.
yeah, no, and it didn't have a lot of good. It didn't have enough
Power.
for needles. It
Yeah.
didn't have the big groupings. It didn't have big shaders. It was really restricted on needle configurations, what the artist could purchase. So, that's why, I'm a big proponent of universal machines. I don't really care for the proprietary machines because I think as artists, Shay, we cannot be limited. We can't be backed in a corner. We can't be limited. We are creative beasts. And we are curious by nature. We need to experiment to figure out what we're made of, what we're capable of, what can we produce, how good can we produce it. And in order to pull that out of ourselves, we need all the configurations on the planet available to us. We need machines that can be versatile. We need that as artists. And I think that's what's so cool about the microblading industry. If they, when they come on and they take this machine course, I think what they're going to realize is, as a microblading artist, as wonderful as it is as microblading, it is restrictive, right? You can only really do microblading, on certain skin. There's only a couple of movements that you can make with that particular tool. And but then when you get into machines, it's like there's really no skin type that's too challenging for machines, because we have all these movements, we've got all these different needles, we've got it's just super versatile. So it allows you to um, take on like any challenge, any kind of skin type, any kind of work, produce any kind of effect. And I think that's what really made me fall in love with, machines. And when I started doing microblading, it felt restrictive to me, even though I enjoyed it. It's fun. I think anything that puts pigment in skin is fun and fascinating to me, but I don't want to be restricted. I need to be fancy free, footloose and fancy free.
Oh, absolutely. And I think it's amazing that you put this course together because back in the day, it's like let's say you and I, we're artists, we like to draw, with all types of things. I do like, watercolor, whatever. I love all types of mediums. And when it came to tattooing, there is no tattoo school. So I could go on the internet on YouTube and search, watercolor technique, and I would be able, okay, great. I'd get something. But back in the day, putting out information about machines and needles and stuff, it was almost taboo because nobody did it. And everybody said, you have to get an apprenticeship and work with this artist and da da da. And nobody wanted to apprentice people. So that information on how to use these tools, all these different, options that give you this freedom to create art on people. And it's so empowering. All that information that you're providing in your course was not available. So I think it's revolutionary to be able to have access to something like that from somebody that has experienced 20 years in the industry for such an affordable price. So, like, don't you agree that this is revolutionary?
Well, in a way, I think I've always been this Shay. I've always taught needles. I've always taught machines, for probably 15 years. But when I started, there wasn't Facebook. People had to find me by word of mouth. And so I wasn't easily found, I guess. And but I've always been here preaching, lecturing, trying to get the PMU industry to listen, to be smarter, to go try these tattoo machines. But keep in mind, also, what was going on at the same time is there was a lot of people in PMU during those years that wanted to keep it segregated. They did not even want us calling this tattooing. So people like me were up against this movement, this big movement to keep PMU separate from body tattooing. There was a lot of
Wow.
class. There was a lot of classes and a lot of people drilling into the PMU ladies that you can't use these body tattoo machines. It is different. It's not tattooing. It is semi-permanent. Calling it micro pick. They wanted to call it everything but tattooing. So that's what I was up against the first 10 years of my career. And then maybe 10 years ago, it started to, other people, they started figuring it out. And now here we are. Now we have online classes. In the industry, Shay, got younger, right? 21 years ago, the average woman entering PMU was 40 to 45 years old. They didn't come from an artistic background, right? So now, look at us now. It's young girls. We're tattooed now. I'm not the only tattooed, pierced weirdo, because 21 years ago, I was looked at like I was a weirdo. I was tattooed, I was pierced, and I went to a PMU conference and they looked at me like, what the hell are you doing here? And they made fun of me. They called my coil a jackhammer. I and so it was like that back then. And but I fell in love with PMU and I made a lot of PMU friends, even though I was much different than them. There was a lot of great women back then, and they were curious and they wanted to learn something other than what was being taught to them. So I think the difference is now it's much more accessible, right? There's online training, and there's really good training, and there's young artists, and the industry and the people in our industry now are much more progressive and open-minded. And so I think that's really like the big difference.
Yeah, no, I'm glad, and it sounds like you were on the bandwagon before it was cool.
I
So
and yeah,
yeah,
I
it's
got
funny. I
threatened.
think,
Yeah,
huh?
people sue me. Like, you don't even know. Yeah, I mean, but I was, I was younger, and I was kind of angry at what was being taught to PMU because I knew, I knew what was being taught wasn't correct. I knew, and it bothered me. It really bothered me. And I wasn't the only one. I mean, there was a group of us back then, but like I said, it was harder to get the word out because there wasn't social media. And so really the only, it was like word of mouth. I mean, I can remember the very first website ever in PMU. I think that was the fourth or fifth website ever in PMU. So that's how long ago we're talking. So but now, like I said, now it's just we've just come a long, long way, a long way. Now, everybody calls it tattooing, right? You're not a freak if you call it a tattoo. You're not going to get in trouble if you call it a tattoo. I remember my very first lecture at a PMU conference, I think back in 2007, I was forbidden to say the word tattoo in my lecture, so which is ridiculous if you think about it, but that's the way it was. And I don't mean to rag on PMU back then. Obviously, I'm pointing out some things that I think um, affected us in a negative way, or slowed down our progression, I should say. Maybe that's a better way to word it. But even back then, with everything that I felt that needed to be worked on, I felt it was a great industry, and there were great people, and I loved it. And I just saw some things that I think needed to be worked on, and people needed to be told. So
No, thank you for standing up for the truth, because honestly, that paved a way for people like me that are younger that entered the industry way, after you paved you kind of like made it acceptable. You stood for who you are and what you believe in, and I think you picked up traction with that. And now that we're going, more online, and we have more outreach, and we have the online classes and places like Clubhouse, we have the freedom to say the truth and not be looked at, the way maybe you felt like you were looked at like 10 years ago. And I feel like if you didn't go through that for people like me and the younger artists, like maybe
Yes.
we would be going through that. So thank you so much.
Totally. I just want to say also, we don't know where we're going unless we know where we've come from. And Miss Teryn, you've provided PMU history for us. Miss Mary Richards, you've created PMU history for us. And, just you being here is an honor. And it just feels like we're bridging the gap. So I'm looking towards you as role models and mentors that we can follow, that will lead the way. And I just want to give you your flowers and appreciate you while you're here as well.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you very much, me. That means an awfully lot to me, and I appreciate it very much. So thank you. And I'm having a blast doing it. So
Yes, we
look,
can tell. And I love sucking up all the information, the love, the energy, everything. I appreciate it.
well, where I'm getting older. Me and Mary are getting older. I've already been in this, industry 21 years, and you never know how long you have left, right? And I think I have a lot of years left in me, but when I look at now, like who's starting to become the leaders and speak up and teach the truth, and the realities of tattooing and what we do on the face with tattooing, and it feels good, Mia. It feels good. It gives me comfort, where I could say maybe 10 years ago, I wasn't comfortable, with who was going to take over and what was going to be taught, and where the industry was going to, head. But now it just brings me a lot of comfort and a lot of joy. And I just feel really good about where this industry is right now, where it's headed, and who's going to take over and keep those truths, and the right teaching and the right trainings, and keep that moving forward. When I'm gone, when I'm long gone.
Oh, stop. You're still so young. You're talking like you're 70. You're still so young.
I know, but I always said, Shay, you know how like these like sitcoms, like like Seinfeld, some of these sitcoms, like they jump the shark, right? That's like a terminology. They always want to get out when they're on top, like these sitcoms, And I always tell Mary, "That's me, Mary. I'm gonna get out when I'm on top. I'm not gonna like slither off a stage when I'm like 70. I'm
Teryn,
gonna
I
get out
don't
when I'm on
think I
top."
don't think you will ever be forgotten. I think your name will go down in permanent makeup books. I honestly think that
Back.
and I've always looked up to you, Teryn. I mean, I know we're really good friends and practically family, but honest to God, I have, out of everybody that I've known in this industry, you have been the most forthcoming, caring, sharing. And I like that because I love you. I'm saying that because it's true. And I want to be like you when I grow up because truly, who goes home who doesn't need to go into work and goes home and works on video after video to help the industry? Who does that? You are constantly working on your days off. Even when I'm there, I'm like, put the phone down, put the computer away. You are always trying to help others. And that's why you're not going anywhere anytime soon because you truly, I'm going to cry just thinking about it. You truly are an amazing woman. And anybody that you're not following, Teryn, you better be following her because even if you're not a student of hers or anything, she still helps. She still helps you and reaches out to you. And I just love you. I know I could go on and on.
Well, I love you too, Mary, and I look up to you. You're one of my role models, and you were a mentor to me. You really, really were. When we started training together, I watched you in a classroom. I think you were a better. I think you were. I was a better PowerPoint teacher. Maybe better technically with PowerPoint and that stuff, but you were a better in the classroom trainer than me. And when we came together teaching 10 years ago with Shays and Strokes, we bonded pretty quickly. We a lot of respect for each other. But I learned from you. I became a better hands-on trainer, a better in-person classroom trainer because of you. And my gosh, look at your PowerPoints now, Mary. I mean, you use
I
24 font and everything.
I know, right? Yeah, thanks to you.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
No, I
I'll
love
see you.
that.
I'll see you in a couple weeks, my friend.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
I love the energy in the room, and I think the main thing here is like women wanting to help other women, and I think that's what keeps me going. And I love it. I love that Teryn is helping Mary, and Mary's helping Teryn, and then Teryn's helping all these people online and in real life. And I think it really just boils down to these people are coming to us to learn something, to make a better living for themselves, which could potentially like create better people because then like they have money or whatever to support their kids, to support their family, to support their like hobbies, and it's like providing the right truthful information and not ripping people off. I mean, that's doing God's work. So I think that's what keeps me going, and it sounds like that's what keeps you guys going.
Back.
Yeah, yeah. You have to, it's important to want for others what you want for yourself, right? I want to, and I think when you love what you do and you love the industry, like this industry, it's a beautiful sacred craft to me, tattooing and PMU, and it saved my life. Literally saved my life. I was not in a good place before I found PMU and body tattooing. And so I feel like I owe this industry so much. I feel I could never repay this industry to be, I don't want to get, you know what I'm trying to say. So and I love artists. And look, if one little thing can help, a young artist get to the next level, then that makes me freaking happy. And it just does. So, and I know Mary's the same way. So yeah, I love it, and that, yeah. So and I wish everybody was like that, but Shay, like you said, there's a lot of ripoffs. There's a lot of people out there just for the money, and a lot of classes. They hold back. They don't teach you everything, and if you're going to be a trainer, you got to give it all. You can't hold back, or don't be a trainer. Don't be a teacher. And so it's important, if you got young artists in this room right now, it's important to find the right trainer for you. and someone that's teaching, for all the right reasons.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's also not to be competitive with other great trainers, because if you want other women to win and they're your students, then you should want other like potential competitors to also win because they're on the same mission. And I think that it's important not to get caught up in.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I
also, I
agree.
noticed a lot of my mentors, they say the same thing. And Miss Teryn, you said it, and it's just confirmation. Like, you say that this art saved your life, right? And I see why you're so passionate. I see why you make yourself available, because this is a survival. I mean, this is serious business, and just understanding how you women take this industry seriously. It's like, man, I need to step my game up. Like, this is a higher purpose.
Yeah, yeah, it kind of is. It is a higher purpose for me. It kind of became my religions. Kind of sounds corny, but I was, not to go too deep in it, but I was really nothing before this. I was lost, and I had depression and anxiety and low self-esteem, and I felt that I didn't do anything good, and just had no purpose. And why am I here? And it got really dark for me, and I wasn't needed. And I had a long period of time where I felt if I fell off the face of earth, no one would know or notice. And then I found this, and I remember searching and journaling, and trying to find purpose. And I found this, and I happened to be good at it, and pretty quickly. Um, and I just ran with it, and it just made me. It just it was my medicine. It became my life. It became who I am. And it's still who I am. Like, if you ask me, how do you identify yourself, Teryn, I'd probably say PMU artist first. Then I would say wife and fur mom, friend. It is kind of sad, but it's true. Yeah. So yeah, Mia. I mean, it's definitely it. I think it gives a lot of us purpose, right?
Facts. Facts.
Yeah. So
No, thank you so much for sharing that. Mary, I felt like you might have had something to say.
Well, no, we were talking about how you were talking about women empowering women. When I met you in Michigan a month ago, whatever, you're what the industry needs too. Being a young woman in the industry, doing all the right things out the gate is so
Yes.
important. You're going to go big places too, sweetheart, because your heart is in it 100% for the right reason. So I just wanted to put that out. I'm meeting you. I could see your true colors and how you're passionate about this industry like Taryn and I are. It's just so nice to see young women in it too for the right reason. Money to me is a bonus. If you're working for the money, then you're not going to be successful. The way you help, the way you put like these groups together, the way you put out information and so on, you're the wave of the future too, honey. So I just want you to know that, not just me and Taryn, you, my daughter, all the young millennials in the room that do this for the right reasons are going to be so successful, and you're going to be huge in the industry.
Oh, stop. You're making me smile and blush at
No,
once.
no,
Stop. I got
don't say
hot.
that. I mean, I'm sure
You're
everybody in
so
this room,
sweet.
the way you talk, the way, I mean, like, no, serious. I even told you that when we had lunch. I go, oh yeah, I can just tell.
Oh, I got the sauce. Thank you so much.
Good, good.
You're so sweet. The one last thing I want to talk about, do you guys have time to take some questions, like maybe two or three, five, maybe? I don't know. It's
Yeah, sure.
yeah, yeah.
okay, cool. So I'll ask one more question because I think it's really important, and then we could ask some questions. So for anybody in the audience right now, if you have any questions for anybody on stage, just prepare your questions, and then once we get this once we get this question answered, just raise your hand, and we'll try to answer like five questions. This is a great opportunity, guys, because Mary and Tara, I mean, like they probably have the most experience out of a lot of people in the industry. So getting to ask them something I think is so valuable. So that being said, the last question I have written down is what do you do when your machine breaks? Because like I just had that happen to me and a lot of people do.
Good one.
I love Cheyenne machines, but Cheyenne machines have a bad reputation for like not having parts everywhere, and repair shops don't take them everywhere. But I do love them and I'm just used to them, and that's just like the company that I like to go with. But when they broke, I had to send it to the manufacturer, and I actually didn't know how broken the machine was. They had to replace the entire motor. And I knew the machine was bad because it smelled like popcorn when you turned it on. But like, how can you tell a machine is broken? I think it's really easy to tell because it starts like ripping skin, the ink doesn't go in. But sometimes you think, oh, this machine is broken because I'm a bad artist. Because at first I thought, oh, I'm obviously horrible and that's why the machine isn't working. But it wasn't me, it was the machine. And I started tricking myself into thinking I'm holding it wrong or something. So I think it's really tricky to know when your machine breaks. I mean, unless it smokes, because then you know, okay, your machine is broken. So how do you go about knowing the health of the machine and how to go about repairs? Because I know some machines you could take to a local repair shop, and then other machines you have to send back to the manufacturer. So Teryn, like, what are your thoughts on?
Um, I think first and foremost, that's why every machine artist should have two machines, right? The last thing you want to do is walk in and you lose a whole day of appointments because your one and only machine broke that day or started acting up that day. So I do go over that in my course, that I think it's important. Look, I know a lot of people start now, they don't have the budget for two machines, but once you, have the budget, then I think you need a backup machine. You need two machines, just in case. But starting out, once you start working with your machine, you do get to know it. It makes a certain sound. It feels a certain way. There should be no odors coming from your machine. You shouldn't smell popcorn or wires burning or smoke or anything like that. Your machine shouldn't overheat. So, those are signs that something's not right with your machine. So that's why I think if you're in the US, it's, and you're, especially if you're only working with one machine, it might behoove you to purchase a machine where the manufacturer is here in the US. So you don't have to send it overseas to get, fixed, because that can be, my God, that can take weeks and weeks and weeks. I know with like Bishop, they're really, really good. I've had a great relationship with Bishop for like 10 years. I sell their machines and they're very, very quick. So actually, Michonne, my artist, she uses her Bishop V6, and after about 5 years, it finally, a little piece broke on it and started acting up. And we sent it into Bishop. They charged her $40. It was well outside the 1 year warranty. They charged her $40, and they had it back to her in about 10 days. So that's my experience with Bishop. They're usually pretty quick, pretty affordable. Some manufacturers are not as good. The Rook, the owner of the Rook, Chris Sanford, he lives right here in Vegas. He's at my studio all the time. So if you have a Rook and something's not working quite like that, you send it back to actually me, and I call Chris and he runs down to the studio and he fixes it. Or if it can't be fixed, which we haven't run into that, most good manufacturers will send you out a brand new one if it's within the 1 year warranty. So it's good. I think having two machines so you don't lose work. I think making sure the manufacturer of the machine has a good reputation for supporting artists if their machines break, and they have a good reputation of getting that machine fixed and getting it back to the artist in a timely manner. And your distributor, right? I'm just a distributor. I'm not a manufacturer. You want to make whoever sure you're buying it from your distributor, because I'm the middleman. I'm the one who's got to get it from you, get it to the manufacturer really quick. And all. So you want to make sure you're working with a good distributor that's going to step in and handle things and take care of it for you. So we're constantly at our studio having young artists, first time machine, and they set it up and something's not right. We have them make videos all the time and send me a video. I don't think we're going to have as much as that now with the machine course on the academy, the Girls Inc. Academy, but yeah, so those are some things, Shay, for people new to machines to make sure that are in place so they don't get into a pickle.
Oh, thank you so much. That was such eye-opening to know, okay, like who am I sending it to the distributor or the manufacturer, and like having two machines is a really good tip. Mary, I know you have so many machines. Do you have any tips on repairs anything you had to deal with in the past that you feel like is a great share for.
Honestly, the only machines I've ever had to send back for repairs was my Nouveau Contour. I've never had to send any of my other machines for repair. So I had problems with the needle screwing into my Nouveau Contour back in the day because the fitting at the bottom of where the plunger goes. But that's the only machine in 17 years I've ever had to send in for repair. And I have several machines as backup because I've dropped machines on the floor. My students have dropped machines on the floor. When that happens, it's hit or miss of getting it fixed or not. Sometimes the manufacturer, because they can tell when something's been dropped or broken if it's not a manufacturer defect. But I have several machines, so I don't have to worry. God forbid one of my machines goes out in the middle of a procedure, I'll just open up another one. So definitely want to have backup for your procedures for sure.
Yeah, that's great. I'll tell you guys how I broke my machine. So the membrane inside the needle that protects backflow or whatever into the machine. One
Yes.
of the needles, it said that it had it, like, because I check all of them, but I guess I didn't check that one time, which you're supposed to check every single time when you put a new, you're supposed to test it, like put a little water in it, see if it leaks from the back. So it was leaking into the machine, and I think water damage got into the machine, and that's actually disgusting. And so I think that's what happened. But right away, like something's wrong right away, and you can see it too. You could actually see the backflow. So make sure you check your cartridges, because that's how I broke a really expensive.
Yeah, yikes. Yeah, and then when that happens, if you get backflow up into your machine, usually your machine's dead. It's gone because now it's contaminated, right? All the inner working parts are all contaminated because you got client, body fluid all up in there. But if you're using a good brand name cartridge,
Yep, they were
you should.
Cheyenne.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with Cheyenne needles or machines, but like if but you shouldn't have to check, Shay, like every needle, like with Da Vinci, like with some of these needle brands, you shouldn't have to check. I mean,
I'm just
you
paranoid now, so I always just make sure the membrane is in place and like make sure that there's no, because you never know. Sometimes I get a box of 20 needles, and out of the 20, I'll have one with like the tip of the needles it shows so sharp. I mean, it's usually not a membrane issue, but not like in the same packet of 20, they're not all made equal. Like sometimes I'll get a needle that I'm like, "Oh, this is amazing." And then sometimes I like toss it and use another.
oh yeah, yeah.
Okay, well, I think this was good, like tech support for machines because I know they could, you don't want to like. I think too. I want to bring up that I think some machines overheat. So if you run a machine for like 8 hours, when you should read on the manual, it'll tell you like how long the machine can run for without overheating. You should read how like long it's suggested to work with because if you're doing a really long day or a long tattoo, I think you should let one machine rest while you use the other one. I don't know if that's if you feel the same way.
Yeah, like maybe some machines, you know, but other machines like the Rook, things that were made for body tattooing. Imagine body tattooing. Sometimes we're doing 6, 7, 8 hour sessions, 4 hour sessions. That's pretty average, a 3 or 4 hour tattoo. I mean, straight. No,
Yeah,
no.
but then we have like a liner and a shader usually for big tattoos like that, right? And then so we are using two machines anyway, sometimes. I mean, some artists.
Yeah, some artists do, but like my particular artist that does all my work, I mean, he uses one machine and he'll sit and tattoo me for 6 hours straight. One machine. He just changes out needles. So some machines are meant, for the long haul and they won't heat up at all. And then some do. So you do have to kind of, read your manufacturer's read about the machine, when you get it, because some machines will get a little overheated and it is suggested that you only use them for a certain amount of time. And then some machines, I mean, they're put, before they're released, they're actually, tested at the manufacturing level, and they'll let them run for like 8 hours straight, without shutting off to make sure they don't overheat. So Just depends on the machine, I think. Some coils definitely will overheat, and some coils don't. So I think that's more machine specific.
Yeah. Yeah, no, for sure. Okay, so I'm gonna open up the stage for a few questions. I know that like we've been on here for an hour, so I'm getting a little not tired, but I do want to wrap it up. So we are gonna take some questions. So if you have questions, this is a great time to raise your hands. I also want to thank again Mia for recording the room. We're gonna be editing it later. And then Katie for writing this all down in a newsletter. I always like to give a thanks. But yeah, so in the audience, if you we've covered so many machine topics, but if you have a question that's specific about maybe your machine or your style or anything like that that you feel like you want to ask, we're just gonna wait until somebody asks, like raises their hand and then take their question. So it
I have a
doesn't look like,
question
yeah.
for Miss Mary Richardson. I know you have a class here in Berkeley coming up October. Let's see here, in
7 and
October. But
8, I think. Yeah.
I wanted to see if I could take you to lunch or just come get a hug.
Oh, gosh, I haven't purchased my tickets yet. So, yeah, I would love to meet you. We'll work it out. Where do you live?
I'm in the Bay Area in San Jose, but it's just like 45 minutes away in
Oh,
Berkeley.
okay. Yeah, we'll work it out for sure.
Okay, okay, awesome.
Yeah, direct message me and I'll send you my phone number so we can text.
Awesome, awesome.
Awesome. Thank you.
Okay, and if you don't want to get up on stage and ask your questions, you can always slide into Teryn and Mary's DMs and ask the questions that you want. Oh, somebody did raise their hand. Let's see. Hi, Shelly.
Hi,
Hi, how's
Shelly.
everyone doing? Hi. I just wanted to give a machine an honorable mention that I recently purchased. So Mary turned me on to the Defender brand of needles, and I'm loving them. So I was on their website and poking around at machines. There's one on there that I purchased called the Onyx. It kind of looks like the Bolar's like little sister. It's shorter and it weighs about half the weight of the Scion. And it has a 2.38 millimeter stroke. So if anyone's looking for kind of a reasonably priced machine for, you know, their hair strokes or whatever, I'm loving it. I think she told me to search Supreme Permanent. I think that's where I purchased it actually.
So where'd you purchase it? SupremePermanent.com.
Yes, that's correct. They
And
had a
and what's the name of the machine again?
it's called the Defender Onyx PMU machine. I
Hmm.
think I spent like about 300. They had a sale. It's normally like 400. I know a lot of people on the Facebook groups are always like, what's a cheap machine? I feel like
Wow.
this kind of in between. So I'm loving it, but I just wanted to throw that out there for anyone looking for something different.
Oh, thank you so much for raising your hand and sharing that because a lot of my students are practicing hair strokes and they're always like, what's a cheap, good machine? And I guess the cheapest machine I know of is like the masked variations, but
Right.
this sounds
I
like
have
really
that
good
one too.
quality.
I think they're about comparable as far as vibration as well. So, just looking for something else. Just wanted to throw that out there.
So Defender Onyx, you said?
Yes, correct.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Welcome. Thanks, ladies, for being here.
Thank you, Shelly.
Yeah, no problem. Okay. So let's see. Does anybody else have any comments, questions, advice? Because I know there's some like really talented people in the audience too. So if you feel like we missed a topic that would be helpful for the audience, you could definitely raise your hand and leave any comments too if you don't have any questions. Let's see. Hmm. I don't.
I'll say something. Anybody
Yeah.
like room, if they want to take the machine course, we're going to give them 10% off.
Is there a coupon code or is it just there?
Nope, there's a coupon code and Olivia is setting it up. So I think it'll be ready tomorrow. And you can email, it's on the Girls Inc. Academy, and you can email us at info@Girls Inc. or DM me on Girls Inc. Studio,
Do you
and we'll
want me
send you
to
the
add it to the newsletter? because it's not going to be published till later. So I can add the coupon code to everybody.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I'll message it to you tomorrow, Shay.
Okay, that's so awesome. Mary, Tara, and Mia, I think we did such a good job covering so many topics. Whatever podcast form we turn this into is going to be gold. And I'm going to also try to break it down into some mini stuff we could share on our profiles because like the info in here was so amazing. I learned so much, and I think all of us learned something today, like just by talking to each other and just being supportive and
Yes.
helping ourselves in the community. So it was really pleasant. I mean, I really enjoyed my morning. I really, really, really enjoyed this conversation, and I'm so honored and thankful that you guys are sharing this information with me here today on stage.
Well, thanks for inviting me. I
Yeah,
was happy.
thanks for having us.
Oh, you guys are sweet. Sorry I woke you up early on a Sunday, but I swear it feels good. Doesn't it feel good? Do you feel good?
Oh yeah, I'm still laying in bed. It feels real good.
Yeah. How many,
Yeah.
how
Okay.
many
Huh?
people in this room are machine girls or just girls? Do you know?
Um, I don't know offhand. I see a lot of like familiar faces in the audience. I know I see a lot of machine people here actually.
Okay,
Like,
cool.
yeah, I think there's a lot of machine here. I had students in here earlier that I recognized that were coming from my course because like I just every time we do the Sunday, I put it in the email newsletters for my students because they're like beginners. They are trying to learn, so I feel like this is free information. So I always invite them, and I saw a lot earlier, but I don't. I think a lot left because the room is ending. But yeah, thank you guys so much. This was amazing. I learned a lot myself. So yeah, I'll wrap it up and I'll hit you guys later. You guys, if you're not following everybody on stage, just go ahead and follow before we end the room. And you slide into anybody's DMs if you need help with anything. You know, they're here to help. We're all here to help. And yeah, let's have a great Sunday and enjoy the day. And I'll reach out whenever the content is ready and I'll give you guys the content.